Selling your art at an outdoor art market or art fair in the summer can be really grueling. Oftentimes I try to avoid hot summer events pretty much at all cost. So I like to do art fairs in either the spring or the fall. But sometimes you can't avoid the hot weather. Like it can be unseasonably hot in times of the year that it's not supposed to be. Or maybe you just really need the money and you have to endure the heat at a show. And if this is the case, then here are some things that you're going to definitely want to bring with you so that way you can survive the event easier. Because heat is a lot to deal with and you can have heat stroke. It is a real thing. So what you want to do first and foremost, if you feel yourself getting way too overheated, just stop doing whatever it is you are doing. If you're setting up your booth or tearing down, or even if it's in the middle of the show, try to get a booth sitter, get somebody to watch over your stuff so that way you can leave and get into some AC if you need to, because having heat stroke is a real emergency situation. So know the signs and make sure to not overheat yourself. Aside from that, one of the best things that you can do to not get overheated is to create shade. What I love to use is this clamp on shade. I've used it at lots of different shows. It's wonderful because you can clamp it anywhere around your booth to create shade. And if you're sitting outside your booth, you don't have to have sun shining down on you the whole time. There are lots of different sunshades that you can use, but the one that I've been using is UPF 50 plus rated. And this means that none of the bad rays or very little of the bad rays are coming through that material onto you. So it protects you the best out of all the materials out there. Along these same lines, I love to get UPF 50 clothing and items to wear to protect my body from getting sun on it, especially during setup and teardown. Because setup during these events, if you don't have your tent there to protect you and provide shade, and there aren't any trees around, which oftentimes is the case, especially if you're setting up like in a street, and you can have sun just like cascading down upon you. I had so many instances before I instituted these measures I'm about to show you, where I had like sunburns on my scalp, sunburns on my face. Just imagine you're starting off a show that's 3 days, 12 hours a day sometimes, and then you started off with this really bad sunburn. So then you're having to be out in more sun, and it's just miserable the whole time. And you're in the heat. It's just creating a bad recipe for just feeling awful the whole time and not making very good sales because you're not in a good mood because you're sunburned and you're hot. And so what I like to do during setup is I always wear my sun hat. It's great because you can put it on. Now I like this one. It has a little thing that I can cinch up here. I'm not going to do it for my video, but basically none of the sun will get down on my scalp. None of it will get in my face. And then I don't have to worry about having those really irritating sunburns after setup. I usually don't wear this during the show as much. Once I'm in my tent and I have my awnings up and my clamp on sunshade and I've created a lot of shade, I don't have to wear this the whole time. But during setup and teardown, it's really convenient. The other thing I'm wearing right now, it is a UP 50 plus shirt that I had designed with my own artwork on here. I love this. Printful allows you to make these. They're only around $30, maybe $35, but it's very affordable and you can have your own artwork on there. Because here's one of the things that I figured out is the UPF 50 long sleeve clothing looks bad, most of it, or it's very plain, like there'll just be a solid color white, or it'll be some really flashy pattern that's just awful. You really don't want to wear any of that in your art booth, probably, if you're trying to make sales, especially if there's the really gaudy patterns and then you've got your art. It just cheapens the vibe, right? And I love to wear clothes in my booth that are on brand, that are kind of promoting my work. And so this I designed and I can have it with my artwork on there, and you don't have to buy a lot of these. I mean, it's Printful, so it's print on demand. You can just buy one if you want. The one downside though is that it is long sleeved, and personally, whenever it's super hot, like if it's 95 or 100 outside, I like to be wearing a tank top. And so you might be one of those people as well. And if that's the case, you can't cover yourself up with a UPF 50 item. What you're going to definitely want to do is bring some sunscreen. This is the kind that I use, but some people like to use the mineral based. It's whatever you like to use and you think for your health health is the best choice. But for me, having this kind that I just spray on, it works really well. I don't get sunburns, and that's super important. Next, you're gonna want some battery-powered fans. Not just one for you and your helper, but a couple of them on each print bin for your customers. Because imagine customers walking through the heat, they're looking at all these different art booths, and they're hot, they're sweaty, they walk into your booth, they want to stick around for a while, but your booth might not be getting the airflow that it needs to, and it's probably hotter in there than they want to be staying in there for any length of time. And so they're sweating, they're looking at your prints, and then they're just feeling like they're too hot, and they don't want to stick around to look enough to figure out what to purchase. But with some strategically placed fans, you can make it a comfortable environment. You can make it more comfortable than being outside of your booth in the heat, and then they will want to stay for longer. Because ultimately, you want to make your customers happy. Happy customers buy art, and fans on hot days make for happier customers. Next, and I think this goes without saying, is that you need to bring a cooler with ice and some water, like a lot of water. Maybe even things like Gatorade, something to help replenish the fluids that you are sweating out throughout the day. Make sure to bring more water than you think you need. But one use for the cooler that you might not have thought about is your phone or your iPad, whatever it is that you're processing cards with. Now, I've never had this happen myself, but I've heard of other artists who had their devices overheat, and the only thing that saved them so that they could continue to process cards was being able to put their phone in their cooler to cool it off. So if this happens to you, you're at an event and your phone overheats and you need it to snap back into shape quickly so that you can continue to process cards, just wrap it up in something so it doesn't get wet from your ice and stick it in the top of your cooler. That way it'll cool off. And if you notice that your device is also just getting too hot over time, make sure to put it to sleep, to turn it off. Don't just leave it on the whole time. That's what I do in my checkout stand. Is my iPad, I can tell on days that's like 90 or 95 or hotter than that, it gets really hot in there. I mean, you can feel it getting hot. So I just turn it off for a while in between checkouts if I can, so that way it helps cool it down. Another thing that I see a lot of artists using are cooling towels. These are really affordable, basically just pieces of fabric that you can get wet, and you can wrap them around your neck, stick them on your head somewhere, stick them just like anywhere that's touching your body that's wet, because then it'll help that moisture continue to evaporate and cool you. But for me, I tried the cooling towel and I was like, well, it kind of works, but not that much. And I don't really like to have more fabric on me. I like to be in a tank top when I'm super, super hot. What I like to do is take those cold bottles of water out of the cooler and just like pour some of it on myself. I've got enough hair that it becomes my cooling towel. It's probably weird for customers to walk in my booth and see like half doused wet artist, but I don't know, everybody else is sweating and wet kind of looking anyway. So I've never had anyone say anything or complain, but that's one of my hacks and it's kept me cool. There's been a few times that I've done shows where it was over 100 degrees, and I swear the only reason I survived it was that I was pouring ice cold bottles of water over my head. All of these supplies, along with my free art fair supply list, are linked down in the description, so check that out. And if you would like more information on doing art fairs, watch this video. All right, thank you so much for watching. I hope you stay cool at your summer shows, and see you next time.